It's the periurban, as we define it, is the meeting of the urban and the rural, really. The way we look at it is more from an angle of both environmental change and the issues of sustainability around it, but also the social, political dimensions that it has. We came to it about 10 years ago, more or less by chance. I mean, it's the area where cities expand, and we know that it's the area where all cities will expand in the future. We try not to look at it in terms of a defined area. We try to look at it much more in terms of institutional spaces, spaces for ecological interaction where different ecosystems meet, spaces of social change. So you cannot really define it in a beltway kind of approach. They're very different challenges depending on what region of the world you're looking at. China presents very different challenges to the ones that Latin America, more established urban areas, present, to the ones that sub-Saharan African cities present, to the ones that sort of the Asian subcontinent presents. But I would say that in sub-Saharan Africa and large parts of Asia, including India, and right now in China, the challenge of urban rapid growth and how to manage it is a huge challenge, and that's what IIHS is all about. But in Latin America, we've managed that transition already, in the sense that you don't see the rates of growth that we saw in the 60s and 70s, and there's a lot to learn from that experience. And I think that's one thing that, by the way, we bring into this as well. But I'm amazed always at how cities like Mexico, cities like Sao Paulo, cities like Bogota were able to manage that transition where you were adding anything between 100,000 to 1 million new people every year to your population, largely from migration in the 1960s and 1970s. And we got used through the last 25 years of ideological hegemony to people slugging off the state and saying, well, the state was useless. Actually, if you look at how the state managed that transition in Mexico City, in Sao Paulo, in Bogota, you will be amazed, because no city in the north, take Milan, take London, take Paris, they would not be able to cope with 1 million people extra every year and give them sort of what these cities managed to do. So the challenges of urbanization, but in a way which actually uses much less resources, or in a much more effective and equitable way than it has been done in the past, is probably the main challenge. That's my view. A big challenge is to integrate and to speak different languages, if you know what I mean, and integrate them within the same set of values and principles that we believe are required of professionals. So our first challenge in dealing with such a body is, how do you set a common set of values, a set of sensibilities, as we've been talking about in the last week or so. And the values of critical understanding of complex challenges is one that is crucial. Another one is one of understanding of diversity, of the other, and a respect for the other, for people who are very different in terms of, outlook on life, color, ethnicity, religious outlook, if there is such a thing, and so on. That is another one which is crucial. Another one I would say is being able to work across disciplines. And at the same time recognize that the limitations that you have as a professional, and being able to reach out to other disciplines and build that synergy that works in teams, and essentially people who have a very strong set of values to do with equity and social justice and compassion and belief in sort of the fact that we are living in a world which is sort of eating up its resources much more quickly than we can actually reproduce them, and that they're able to carry that in their professional life. That is the difficult thing. It's not only to do it in the classroom, but actually to be able to say, well, you go out in the world, guys, and keep in touch with that. And in a way, the advocacy work that an institution does is part to The challenge is to integrate these people constantly into these values and instill and reinstill and re-innovate these values in people, because they can lose heart when they go out into the world, and the world is, as we know, quite nasty and brutal. Once you create these new sensibilities that we agree on these new sensibilities, and these, which are much more than that, are these core values that we've talked about and I've just mentioned. Biggest challenge is keep those values and as I said, reinstill them on not only your present set of students and so on, but also the subsequent generations of, previous generations of graduates of the school. And the other one is partly through that body of former students, but partly through the work in research and informing a debate in a rigorous way, partly through using that research and those set of values to advocate for these values in Indian society, to try and change the way, the direction in which urbanization is likely to go, and IIHS has an enormous responsibility, which I would say is almost at a global level, because whatever is decided in India in terms of a path for urbanization will actually affect us all. If it's a natural resource-based, intensive-based, highly energy-intensive, highly inequitable path of development, then the world will feel it in many ways.